Hello friends! So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make the rock from over the garden wall. It's very squishable and all I had to do was know how to crochet circles and chains. So let's get started. So we're going to start with our silverish yarn for the base. And so you're going to start with 4 chains. So we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to put it through the first loop. We're going to yarn over, pull through the first loop, and through the second loop. So now we have this tiny little hole in the middle, and we're going to single crochet 6. So we're going to pull this out of the way. There's 1. And we're going to make sure we also catch this part so we can make sure it's closed all the way. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now that we have our 6, now out of the way, I'm gonna make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're gonna get our little tail and we're going to pull it shut. And now it may not shut all the way, as you can see it right here. It's not really all the way closed, but we'll deal with that later. So after that, we're gonna increase in each stitch. So kind of like we were making a ball like last video. So we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and then we're gonna go back to that same stitch and we're gonna do it again. So that's 2, 3, and 4. We're gonna count by 2s, basically. 5, and 6. 7, and 8. 9, and 10, 11, and 12. So now we're going to count and make sure that we have our 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So as you can see, usually we'll straighten it out so it looks more circle, but we're going to actually stretch it out to make it look kind of like an oval shape. And as you see, it kind of corrected itself in the middle. It's now a lot smaller. So now what we're going to do for our round 3 is we are going to single crochet in the next 3. So we're going to single crochet in 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now we're going to increase in the next 2, which again we're going to just put 2 stitches in 1 stitch. So there's 1, 2, then 1, and 2. So there are our 2 increases. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 3. Then we're going to increase in the next 2. There's 1, 2, and 1, and 2. Then we're going to single crochet in the last 2, so that's 1 and then 2. And as you can see, we've kept that little oval shape. And so now what I'm going to do, and what you could have done earlier, is I'm going to grab the case that I hold all of my needles and my stitch markers. So I'm grabbing my bobby pin and I'm going to kind of let this loop through. And this loop that's right next to where we just took our hook out of, right here, I'm going to push it through. Just in case if I, for some reason, lose my spot or if I mess up somehow. And you know what? That's okay. So now we're going to single crochet in the next 3 again. So that is 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to, instead of increasing in the next 2, we're going to increase in the next 3. So how you can also think about it is we're going to do 2 in each stitch and we're going to count up to 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches. So that's going to be 1 in each stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to increase in the next 3 stitches. So that would be 1, 2, and 3. So that means 2 in each stitch again. There's 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, and 2. And how you can tell if you did an increase is the stitches that you put them in are going to be a lot bigger than the ones you just put 1 in. And then in the very last stitch where our stitch marker is, we're going to take it out and we're going to single crochet just 1. And again, as you can see, we still have that kind of rock shape. And how, if you're like, what row am I on? You can also go from the center where we started our magic circle and you count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're going to start on row 5. And all of them will look a little bit different because maybe your tightness on the tail piece is going to be tighter, looser, and you know, rocks are all different, so that's okay. So now we're going to single crochet in the next 4, so that'll be 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to increase in the next 4. So that's, we're going to technically count to 8. 1 in the same stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to single crochet in the next 8 stitches. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to increase in the next 5, so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we're going to single crochet in the last stitch. Now, here's where things get a whole bunch easier. We're going to put our stitch marker back into the last loop we just did. And for row 6, we are going to be increasing in each stitch. So as you can see, I might get confused sometimes if I'm looking at this one, because I think that would be the next stitch, but it's actually the one after it. And how you can tell is, as you can see, there's loops in this one, but there is no loops in that one. So we're going to increase in each stitch, which means putting 2 in each stitch. And now that we are done with row 6, as you can see, it's kind of curly and kind of twisted, and you know what, that is a-okay. That's how it's going to end up looking for now, at least. And so now for row 7, we're going to decrease in each stitch. And I know you're thinking that, well, didn't we just increase? Wouldn't that just go back to the same number? Yes, it does, but it gives it, as you can see, the character it needs to get that little curve that we have. So here would be our increase and then our decrease. So it just gives it that little more ovally rock shape. So now we're going to decrease in each stitch. So how we are going to decrease is we're going to start in the front loops, the ones that are closest towards us, and we're going to put our hook through that one, the first one, and then the second one. So now we have a total of 3 on our hook, and we're going to yarn over, pull through the first one. Now we have 3, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And we're going to do that again. And it might be difficult, so you can use your nail to kind of push it through the second one, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, sometimes you may have the issue, or it's not even really an issue, it just happens sometimes, where you pull through the first 2 by accident, but it's okay. You're just going to yarn over and pull through, because it does the exact same thing. It just kind of changes it up a bit, but it still decreases. And now we're going to do that the entire way around. And so, as you can see, we're right up to our stitch marker. And so instead of just single crocheting at the end, we're going to pull it out and we're going to decrease in these 2 stitches. And that's okay. That is the entire goal. And so now, as you can see, we're going to like kind of fold it back to where it's all facing one way. There's a couple of bumps here and there, but you know that's okay, because rocks have bumps as well, so it's perfect. Now, we're on row 8, and we're going to be single crocheting in each stitch. Now this will make it more of a, kind of like a dome, to make it more kind of round like this one is. So as you can see, it kind of goes down a bit, and then we start decreasing. So that is the part we're going to start doing. And we're going to just put 1 stitch in each stitch. Then again, we're going to take out our stitch marker and put our last stitch there. And now, as you can see, we've gotten our dome, and now looks kind of rockish, and to do kind of like the size range. Here it is. And so now we're going to start decreasing again, so we can start getting ready to close it off. And just a quick reminder on how to decrease. We're going to go through the front loops of the 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3. Alrighty, then we're going to do that all the way around. And so as you can kind of see, it's kind of trying to, while we were crocheting, it was kind of trying to fall in on itself. And that's just because it is not filled with stuffing yet. And so now we're going to actually count how many stitches we have left. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So what we're going to do, since we have 14, is we're going to decrease 2 more times. So there's 1, and 2, and now we have 12, so then it'll be easier for us to close off. As you can see, kind of folded it on itself again, and so we're going to kind of put our fingers through it and kind of pull it. And it's okay if there's a couple of holes. You really won't be able to see it once we start stuffing it. So now we're going to get our polyfill, or whatever you're using as stuffing, and we're going to kind of start stuffing it. I like to curve it in and start like kind of near the sides, just so it kind of, I know I'm getting it everywhere once I'm done stuffing it. And it's, as you can kind of tell, it's not very stuffed all the way, but it is popping out of the back because, again, we haven't sewn it up and we haven't made it smaller. So now we're going to decrease in every stitch again until we get to 6. So how we're going to do it is decrease how we usually do. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now we're going to count to make sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now we're going to kind of stuff it a little bit more so it can be more sturdy. So we're going to get a little bit more polyfill. As you can see, there's kind of a little bit of holes that are like around here, and we'll fix that once we sew it together. So we're going to start stuffing more polyfill into our rock. Just so it's more sturdy and more kind of squishable, I guess you could say. Or you could have just stopped. I mean, it all just depends on how much you want to stuff it and how like squishable you want it, or how hard you want it to be. So it just kind of just depends on you. For me, I like it like this. It's still squishy and I can still like mold it into different shapes of rock. So now I'm going to kind of squish it out back to its original shape. And we're going to grab our scissors and cut a tail. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab this loop and we're going to pull it through. Now we have our tail. Now this is where our yarn needles come in. So this is mine. As you can see, it has the bigger hole at the bottom and it's not sharp or pointy at all. It's even just plastic. So I'm going to, my scissors, and I am going to pinch it between my fingers so it's kind of like a loop. And I'm going to push it through and grab it. And voila, we've threaded our needle. It's a lot easier than threading actual needles, so that's always on the plus side. So now that what we're gonna do is we're going to go through 3 loops, just so that we can close up the bottoms where it's mostly open. So we're gonna do a drawstring stitch. So there's 1, we're gonna go through 3 again, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're gonna pull it tight, and it kind of makes like this weird looking bottom, and that is okay, because I mean no one's really going to see the bottom unless you want them to see it. And now we're gonna go through any of these loops. So I'm gonna go through this one and make it to where I now have a loop. I'm gonna push it through, then I'm gonna pull this bottom piece, so pull it until that part's closed. Then I'm gonna pull this and push it through the loop again and just pull it tight. And then you can just do this to make sure it's kind of closed up, and then push it through kind of the center, and pull. And there you go, you have the base of the rock. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it off our needle, we're gonna grab our scissors, we're going to cut it, and you can save these scraps or you can just throw them away. It really doesn't matter what you do with them. Then you're going to use the back and push it through the loop you had put it through, and now it is hidden, and now you have your rock shape. Now we're going to work on the eyes. I personally think the eyes are the easiest part of this entire rock, but you know, it's all up to you on what you think, and everyone has different opinions, and that is okay. So now we're going to make our starter loop, and we're going to chain 4 just like we did at the start of our rock. 2, 3, 4, and we're going to push it through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 1 and 2. Alrighty, so now we are back at our magic circle, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it through the middle just like we did at the beginning of the rock. There's 1, but instead we're going to do just 4. 2, 3, and 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to pull it as tight as we can, and then we're going to push it through the very first one that we made. You might have to use your nail for it, and that's okay. And you're going to slip stitch. So that means yarn over, pull through 1, and then pull through the second one. And there you go. You have your eye shape now. Now you're going to pull it, and you're going to cut to have a tail. And it's okay if it's too long, you just don't want it too short. So there is our one eye. And we're going to do this again, because our rock friend has 2 eyes. We're going to start with the loop again. We're going to chain 4, 2, 3, 4, put it through the first loop, pull through both loops, and through the middle we do 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4, just to make sure we got 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we're gonna pull it tight and push it through the very first one, and we'll pull through both. There is our second eye. And it's okay if they don't look very circle-like, because when we sew it onto the rock, it will look more circle-like. So now, after we got both of our eyes done, and don't worry, we're gonna put stuff in the middle, we're gonna actually work on our eyepiece. So I'm gonna get my case full of eyes, and I'm going to get my smallest set, which are these. I need 2. And so usually they come with backs like these, the ones I get, but we are not going to be using these for our rock friend because we would have had to been just doing a straight regular eye. So I have a mannequin head that I like to use to stick the eyes into so I can paint them, because our rock friend has blue eyes. So you can mix your own paint or paint it however you want. You can even give your rock friend different colored eyes. But for me personally, I like the the color that I gave them, which is this blue. I don't even know what it's called. Blue gloss. It's for like the cars you can customize. Like you can get them at like Hobby Lobby and stuff. So I like to use that kind. Oops. And so now I grab a small brush because I feel like I have a lot more control with that kind of brush. And so now that we have our eyes ready and prepared to be painted, which they're just up here, and as you can see, I had painted some when I was doing them for my upcoming shop, which is on August 28th, which I'm super duper excited for. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to straight paint them the blue that I just showed you, the blue gloss. And you're just going to dip, and you're going to have to do 2 coats. I found 2 coats is the best, so then you don't have any streaks and it's just very opaque. And I find it very relaxing to kind of paint the eyes. And with any of these, you can paint the eyes whatever color you want. Even if you're like just crocheting something like random that you wanted to crochet, you can even paint those eyes with, I think, with any kind of paint. This is just the paint I have on hand. So now we're gonna set that aside so it can dry. And I'm just leaving it right next to me, so it's just easier. And now we are going to start the mouth, which we're gonna start with black, because he has his little cute derpy mouth. So what we're gonna start with is our starting loop, and we're going to chain 5 in the black. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now that we have chained 5, we're going to kind of undo the 5th one because I kind of messed up there. So instead, we're going to grab our yellow. We're going to change to our yellow, grabbing it wherever it starts. We're going to make a loop, and we're going to put it over the hook, kind of make it, to where we hold it, and it is now our circle, and we're going to pull it through our black loop, and that'll be our 5. So now we have, as we count, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to single crochet in each stitch. So that will be 4. So there's going to be a little difficult, so that is just a warning. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now that we have single crocheted 4, we are going to kind of turn our work and go through, and it's kind of like the bottom stitches of this. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, I can get it through. There we go. 3, and then through the last one, we're going to kind of go through our black and then through our yellow. And there is our, there we go, 4. And as you can see, we now have our mouth shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull it, grab our scissors, and we're going to first cut the black. We're going to cut it short. And then with our yellow, we're going to actually cut a longer tail, so because that's what we're going to be using to sew it onto the rock. Make sure you pull it kind of tight, and there is our mouth. And so now we're going to go back to our eyes to kind of like just check on them. They look pretty good, and now we're going to do our second coat just to be on the safe side, because I think this paint dries very fast. So we're going to grab our blue again, and we're just going to do another quick coat. And this is where you can pause the video and clean off your brushes afterwards, so they don't get stuck on that color and dry and crusty. So after, you make sure it's all painted and nice, and for me, I like to have them even, so like smooth. There we go. We'll put them aside again to dry fully. Make sure to close your paint because you don't want that drying out either. And now we're going to crochet the tongue using red. So we are going to move our scissors. And it's kind of going to be like our eyes, because we are going to single crochet 4 into a magic loop. So we're going to start with, again, with our chain 4. That is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it through the first loop, slip stitch it through the middle, 1, oop, there it goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, pull it tight. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to slip stitch again like the eyes through the first loop, slip stitch, and now we're going to actually chain 1, turn our work, and single crochet into 2. So there's 1, and then in the next stitch we're going to single crochet again, 2, and now we have our tongue. So we're going to kind of pull it, and we are going to, of course, cut a long tail just to make sure we have enough to sew it and secure it on. And now we are ready to start the assembly process. So I would also prefer you to grab some of your pins, not writing pins, or stick pins, and they can be any color, any size, any shape. For mine, they're colorful, as you can see. And so what I'm first gonna do is I'm gonna pin the tongue where I kind of want it to be. So I kind of like it here. And beware, my pins are a little bit long, so you can actually stab yourself by accident. But so here's the tongue, and I'm gonna put this to the side. Now for our eyes, you can choose whatever way or shape you want your rock. You can customize it to make it like this, or flatter, or longer. Just matters to your preference. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab my eyes and place them to where I think I would want them, and push a pin through it, and grab the other one and do the exact same thing. And it's okay, again, if they're not perfect, because as in Over the Garden Wall, you will see that they are indeed not perfect, because it's a painted rock. How there's no such thing as a perfect painted rock. So now we're gonna get our sewing needle. We're not gonna sew on the eyes just yet. We're actually gonna focus on the mouth. So I'm gonna move this out of the way, and we're gonna grab our red tail, and we're going to make a loop and push it through the needle, pull it through, and we're going to sew the tongue on. So you can I like moving the pins first and then kind of placing it back to where I like it, and I kind of stretch out the mouth so it's a little bit bigger. And then you should always sew the tongue on before you sew on the mouth, because it's just a lot easier and it's easier to hide in the ends. And you're just going to sew through the chain and the single crochets you did at the very end. It might be a little tough to pull through, but you got this. You can do it. I believe in you. And you're just going to keep doing that until you feel like it is very secure. I like to do it at least 3 times, so I'll do back and forth, or at least 2, just to make sure. And I like to pull it up just to make sure it's kind of secure the way I want it to be. And if I find one spot, I'll just go through make sure I'm going through the back, pushing through, and kind of catching the part that I would like to fix, and pushing it through, and voila! There is our tongue and the mouth. Yay! Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave this. Yes, it may be a little bit long, but we're gonna be working with it later, so make sure you do not cut this part. So I'm gonna kind of fold the tongue up and make sure I have the tail away from it. And we're just going to cut the red. Make sure there's still a little bit left. So I'm gonna cut it about right here. So we have a small little tail now, just like what the rest of them are, kind of small tails. And now we're going to pin it onto our rock. So we're gonna grab our rock, and we're going to pin it at the corners. For the best results, I like to pin them at the corners, so then I have more range to sew, and it's not like I have to worry about hitting the pins in any way. So now we're going to use our yellow. We're gonna sew on the mouth first. So then we if we wanted to move the eyes, we can, or all that fun stuff. Be aware, if you're using the kind of pins I have, which I have no idea what their names are, but they're colorful and they're kind of long, you can't really see it, but they will indeed stab you if you try to push down. So just be warned and watch your hands, because I don't want anyone getting stabbed, because that really hurts. So now we're going to just kind of sew it on. And even for me, I prefer to take off the eyes, just so they're not in my way, and I don't risk getting stabbed in multiple places other than just 2. So we're going to start sewing. And sometimes you will catch that little red tail that we have, and that's okay. Just make sure you're paying attention and you pull it out. And you may stab your finger a couple of times because of your needles, so just a fair warning. And as you can see, we are sewing the mouth. And I don't know what kind of sewing techniques you can use. I'm just using this one because I know it better. I mean, it's all up to you on what kind of, how you want to sew it on, but I like to just do through one of the loops, pull it through. And so when you get closer to the bottom, as you can see, we have all of our stuff still kind of hanging out. You can use your finger or your needle that you're using to sew to kind of push all of those in. Again, leaving our long red tail still out. And we're going to keep sewing it shut. Make sure you get every single loop closed because you don't want anything for some reason coming out that you don't want to come out. I'm going to take out this one, then the very last one we're kind of going to be as close as we can, kind of pushing it out and doing our little, let me find, sometimes if your tail is too long at the end, it will get caught in while you're sewing, and that's okay. And then we're going to kind of knot it shut and push it through the back just so that it is more secure. And there is our mouth for our rock. So now, as you can see, we still have our tail. So we're going to see where the tail kind of starts. I mean, kind of like hits where it would technically hit the rock if it was sewed in. And so mine is about like right here. So I'm going to kind of poke it through and put the yarn through the, and then pull it through. And so now the tongue is down and it's still 3D. And what you can do is you can get your yellow. And this is what I like to do because it, for me, it feels more secure. Is go through the same hole you had put it through and then go towards the red. Push it through the same hole as the red is. Might take a bit to find. And then pull it through. And once you do that, you're going to tie it once and tie it twice so it's knotted. And then you're going to cut these tails a little bit shorter, and you're going to get the back of your needle, hold it, and start pushing it through the hole, including with the tails. And you know, you can just cut them at this point if you wanted, but I feel like them going together has less risk of it somehow coming undone, because if you cut the tails too short, then it has a high chance of coming undone, which is no bueno. And so now we're gonna get our eyes, and we are going to place them wherever we want. So there's one for me and two, kind of like this. And now we're going to start sewing the eyes. So we're going to get our longest tail, again, put it through the needle, and start sewing like we did with the mouth. It's okay if it gets a little close to the mouth. I mean, it's a rock, so that's okay. Trying to make sure y'all can see it, so sorry if I keep moving around. You're going to do this through each stitch. And what you can also do is, I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter, the shorter one, kind of stuff it in the back like we did with all the extra mouthpieces. And we're going to keep sewing. Again, please watch your hands because you can indeed stab yourself and it really does suck. And again, it might be a little hard to pull it through. You can use pliers or you can just try to as best as you can with your hands. And then at the end, I'm going to do the last stitch and push it through the back. Pull it through. And as you can see, it looks more circular. And you know, it's okay if it doesn't look perfect. Because, you know, again, it was a painted rock. So we are doing our best. And, you know, our best is perfect. And we're going to, again, leave the long tail in the back so we can tie it like we did with the red and yellow. Then with the second eye, we're going to do the exact same thing and sew it on. And again, even if they're not even twice. That's okay, because, you know, rocks are never perfect. And so I feel like this would be the perfect thing for beginners and even advanced people, because it gives you more range. And so again, I'm going to cut this a little bit short and push it through the back so it's a little more, so it's hidden. We're going to keep sewing around. And so again, the last loop, we're going to push it through. And now our eyes are done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the back and we're gonna find whichever one you feel like would be easier to get to, or, you know, whatever works for you. And we are going to pull it through, and we're going to tie it the exact same way we tied our other ones. So tie it once and twice, and we're going to make the tails a whole much shorter. And again, with the back of our needle, we are going to shove it in to the back. So now that that's done, we are going to grab our eyes, make sure that they are indeed dry. I'm pulling mine out of my mannequin head. And you can try to push them through. For mine, you can just kind of screw them in. Kind of, and you gotta kind of push. So there's one eye. And there's, trying to get it to go through, two. And so this is how it will end. But what you're gonna do to secure the eyes in is you're going to get a hot glue gun and you're gonna glue it in. But since I don't have mine heated up already and it will take a bit, I'm just gonna leave it like this for now, but I'll make sure to glue it later. But all you gotta do is you're gonna take out the eyes, and you see it gives like that little kind of hole where the eye was originally, and you're going to get your glue gun and kind of stick it into that hole and squeeze a little bit of glue, and you'll just twist it in or push it in, because it should be easier now to push it back in. And then voila, you will have your rock from over the garden wall, so you can tell your friends some rock facts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and remember, stay creative. Bye friends.